You've got some excitement out on your lawn today. Hello, Mr. President.
A little excitement.
What brings you here?
Are we on already?
We're on. We're live.
Oh, wow, that's good.
We're on every channel.
We had a very exciting trip over here, I have to say.
No kidding.
That was good. It was good. How were you?
I'm doing okay. I was here for the baseball game. How about Steve Scalise last night?
I think he's great. How about the play? The first play of the game.
Unbelievable.
He's a great guy. Courageous.
Right.
Like you.
Yeah. Huh? Sure. Having you stop by live, I got some questions for you.
I was mugged by the media.
They've got questions for you. I'm hoping I can ask a lot of the questions they've got.
They're very, very nice people.
The IG report came out yesterday. The FBI looks bad.
Very bad.
Your FBI?
Well, no, it was Comey. I mean, they were talking about Comey, not my FBI. It was Comey. The people in the FBI are incredible. I would bet if you took a poll in the FBI, I would win that poll by more than anybody's ever won a poll. But the top people were horrible. You look at what happened. They were plotting against my election. Probably has never happened like that in terms of intelligence, in terms of anything else.
Right.
But they were actually plotting against my election.
The headline right now.
But I'm actually proud because I beat Clinton dynasty.
Right.
I beat Bush dynasty. And now, I guess, hopefully I'm in the process of beating very dishonest intelligence, because what they did was incredible and a real insult to millions of people that voted in that election on both sides.
The headline right now from the Wall Street Journal: DOJ Clinton report blasts Comey and agents but finds no bias in conclusion.
Well, the end result was wrong. I mean, there was total bias. I mean, when you look at Peter Strzok and what he said about me, when you look at Comey, all his moves. So I guess, it's interesting. It was a pretty good report. And then I say that the IG blew it at the very end with that statement, because when you read the report, it was almost like Comey. He goes point after point about how guilty Hillary is. Mm-hmm. And then he said, but we're not going to do anything about it. The report, the IG report, was a horror show. I thought that one sentence of conclusion was ridiculous.
What about apparently the Lovebirds talking about you? We will stop it.
Yeah, they said they will stop me. Well, in the meantime, the economy hit an all-time high this morning. Never been better. Jobless rate, the lowest, the best in 44 years, just came out. Mm-hmm. We're going to have some incredible things. We're just announcing very big tariffs today on China, because China has been, look, he's my friend, President Xi. He's a great man. He's a wonderful guy, but at some point, we have to straighten it out. We lost $500 billion in trade deficits last year. We can't do that.
Is the new tariff something like 25% on $50
Well, it's being
billion?
announced right now as I speak.
You can announce
So
it.
maybe you have the first announcement.
What do you know about
your
your
beaten the Wall
tariff?
Street Journal, all right? You just beat the Wall Street Journal by a lot. Well, we're just going to do $50 billion on $50 billion of high technology equipment and other things coming into the country, because so much of our secrets, we have the great brain power in Silicon Valley, mm-hmm. and China and others steal those secrets, and we're going to protect those secrets. Those are crown jewels for this country. Right. And you read so much about China, you read so much about other countries. We have the great brain power right in this country, I'm proud to say. And you're certainly a member of that group.
I am an American. What about the fact that there are a lot of people who say, what's he doing? He's going to start a trade war. If he slaps 25% on $50 billion for China, that's going to be bad for Americans.
No, the trade war was started many years ago by them, and the United States lost.
So you're saying we're on the losing end of it?
Well, no, there is no trade war. They've taken so much. So last year, $375 billion in trade deficit. We had $300 with China. We had overall over $800 billion over a period of years. Each year, close to $800 billion in losses on trade. It's not going to happen anymore. Right. It's not going to happen. Can't happen.
A week ago, you were up in Canada, and you met with the G7 people. That didn't end so well.
No, it ended well for the United States. It ended well.
Well, the world community thinks the United States is turning our back on them. But your opinion is that you got elected to represent America, and America needs help.
We need protection. Everybody's taking advantage of us. The European Union made $151 billion on us last year. If you look at, I told you about China, you look at Japan, you look at South Korea, you look at so many, and we help these countries militarily on top of everything else. I mean, at what point does it stop? And when I left China, it was absolutely a fantastic meeting. We left, we hugged, we kissed, everybody was leaving, and then I get onto Air Force One. And the Prime Minister up there, Trudeau, didn't think, I guess, that we have any televisions on Air Force One, but they have, I think, 21 televisions or some ridiculous number.
And so you saw it and you hit the roof.
Well, you have to understand, we're hugging, we're saying goodbye, everybody's happy. I made changes to the agreement because I wanted it to be much better for the United States. I made changes. We're all happy. And then he got up and started saying that he doesn't want to be pushed around by the United States. Well, they charge us almost 300% on dairy products, so we can't do that.
Have you heard from any of the G7 leaders?
They all called me to wish me happy birthday yesterday.
Really? And how was that?
It was very...
Not your birthday, but the message from the other side.
I took it very well.
Right.
No, they all called. I mean, I have great friendships. The new Prime Minister of Italy is great. Got to meet him. Very, very strong on immigration, like I am, by the way. It seems that strong on immigration wins now.
Sure. But
and,
this is...
the Democrats, by the way, are very weak on immigration. If you notice, when I came over, they were all saying about separating the families. And that's a Democrat bill. That's Democrats wanting to do that, and they could solve it very easily by getting together. But they think it's a good election point. I think it's a horrible election point for them.
Ultimately, Congress has got to change the
They
laws.
gotta change the law.
But at the same time, Mr. President, people say, look, you rip these families apart, even though it is the law, it's heartless.
But that's the law, and that's what the Democrats gave us, and we're willing to change it today if they want to get in and negotiate. But they just don't want to negotiate. They're afraid of security for our country. They're afraid of a wall. Although I must tell you, most people now really, they want the wall. They want to stop the drugs. They want to stop a lot of people from coming in that shouldn't be here, like MS-13.
Right. A lot of, I was up on Capitol Hill yesterday with Steve Scalise. They were having a leadership meeting. It sounds like they're going to take a vote on a couple of different bills on immigration, probably next week.
Yeah.
One of them, the Goodlatte bill, the other is something more moderate. Would you sign either one of those?
I'm looking at both of them. I certainly wouldn't sign the more moderate
What does the bill have to have in it?
I need a bill that gives this country tremendous border security. I have to have that. We have to get rid of catch and release.
Does that mean the wall?
We have to have the wall. If we don't have the wall, there's no bill. We have to have catch and release. We catch a criminal, a real criminal, a rough, tough criminal. We take his name and then we release him.
Right.
And we say, please show up to court in a couple of months. You know what the chances of getting him to court are? Like zero, okay? Right. It's crazy. Then we have the lottery program, right? It's called Lotto-Visery.
Diversity lottery program.
Yeah, or lottery visa.
Okay, one of those.
Okay, whatever. They have 15 names. It's still every one of them has lottery. You know what lottery is? That's where you pick names to come into the country. Well, when a country gives names, they're not giving us their finest. So we're picking people. It's not good. We have to end that. We have to end a couple of them, and we are going to be so secure as a country. Now, with all of that being said, we're doing a great job. ICE, we're getting MS-13 out by the thousands. But we shouldn't have to be going into towns in Long Island and other places and getting them out. You know, it's almost like we're liberating towns. It's incredible.
You mentioned court. Regarding a legal proceeding, you got the Mueller investigation. I know we kind of touched on that a little while ago. Rudy Giuliani is out this morning. He said the investigation should go away, time to fold up the tent, or it's time to investigate the investigators. Are you on the same page?
Look, you have 13 angry Democrats. There are 13, I call them 13 angry Democrats, and others worked for Obama for 8 years. I mean, you have no Republicans, you have no, it's a very unfair situation. But the IG report totally exonerates. I mean, if you look at the results and if you look at the head investigator is saying we have to stop Trump from becoming president. Well, Trump became president. We have the best economy today we've ever had. Right. We have much greater border security than we ever would have had. And when we do it, when we have the laws changed, it'll be like perfecto.
Rudy says that you should not talk to Mueller.
A lot of people say that. Look,
given the IG report and stuff that's coming out.
They're getting people who say something a little bit off. Is it a nice day? Well, you know, no, it's not a great day. Oops, he lied. He goes, you know, got problems. People are afraid of that. And I would like to talk, but it seems to be very biased.
One of some of the texts, and we're not going to quote them, were very vicious regarding people who support you.
Yeah, vicious. I have the greatest supporters in the world. By the way, they're the smartest, they're the hardest working, they pay taxes, they're incredible, they're loyal. I have the bikers, I have the construction workers, I have them all. I have by the way, I have the FBI. You go into the FBI and take a poll of the real FBI, not the scum on top, not Comey and that group of people that are total thieves.
Most of those are gone.
Well, I don't know how Peter Strzok is still working there, to be honest with you.
He's
okay?
working in HR.
It doesn't matter. That's even worse.
Mr. President, this is
I
your
know,
FBI.
but you know what I've done, and you know this, I've told you this. I'm so involved. Great new Secretary of State.
Right.
I have a fantastic relationship now with North Korea. You know, there were missiles being thought about.
Yeah.
People aren't thinking about it anymore. I said on the Department of Justice I would stay uninvolved. Now, I may get involved at some point if it gets worse. I say I'm staying uninvolved. I'm letting this report go through. I did nothing wrong. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction.
But, Mr.
There was
President,
no anything.
I was on Capitol Hill yesterday, and there are a number of congressional Republicans who are, they're trying to get some documents from your Department of Justice, your FBI.
I tried to stay involved. I may not stay involved, uninvolved, because they have to get the documents. Look, I think everybody
But your
agrees.
FBI is stonewalling.
I think that Rod Rosenstein thinks that you have to get the documents. I really believe that. I saw him yesterday. He gave me a briefing. I think that he believes you have to get the documents.
What did he say regarding the IG report?
Well, he wasn't thrilled about it. I mean, you can't be if you're in there now, but it really was talking about the past. It's not talking about us. It's talking about before us, and it's talking about the election. What they did during the election was a disgrace. It's probably never happened in our country before. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. What's going to happen when we go further? And there was total bias. I mean, total bias.
From what you've seen so far, should James Comey be locked up?
Well, look, I would never want to get involved in that. Certainly, they just seem like very criminal acts to me. What he did was criminal. What he did was a terrible thing to the people. What he did was so bad in terms of our Constitution, in terms of the well-being of our country. What he did was horrible. Should he be locked up? Let somebody make a determination. Look at all the dishonest things that crooked Hillary did. Look at what's gone on. It's very sad.
Sounds like he was using a private email, too.
He had a private email. That was, of all the things, that wasn't, to me, maybe the most interesting, but it was probably the funniest.
Because she got in big trouble for her private email.
Yeah.
Oh, James Comey's using one,
That
too.
was a little bit of a surprise, I have to say.
Yeah. From what we've seen, though, regarding the IG report, it sounds like Comey made some bad judgments, but nothing criminal.
Well, if you look at what happened, and don't forget all of these people like Strzok, what he did was criminal. Strzok and so many others. McCabe is now up.
You mean the bias, the animus?
Well, they all worked for Comey, and Comey knew everything that was going on. You think McCabe didn't tell him everything? McCabe told him everything, and McCabe is up for criminal right now.
And now he's suing the Department of Justice.
And he's now suing, and it's a total mess. They're all going against each other. No, I think Comey was the ringleader of this whole, den of thieves. It was a den of thieves.
Are you confident that either through the congressional investigators or the IG report or new management at the FBI, things are going to work out, things are cleaning up, and we'll get to the bottom of all that stuff?
I do believe so. I think it's happening. It's happening slowly, but it's happening. I think Christopher Wray is very different from Comey, which is what you need. You need different. You need like the opposite. And he's moving step by step. And you're going to see a whole new, very proud FBI. I think that the Justice Department will end up being great. It's all going to happen. It's all going to work out. But I tried to stay as much uninvolved as I can.
You were very involved in going to Singapore, negotiating with Kim Jong-un. When you finally met him and sat across the table from him, we've heard a lot of bad things about little Rocket Man, and suddenly you guys seem to be best friends.
We got along very well. We had a good chemistry. I don't know if that's supposed to be popular or politically correct to say, but we really did. We had good chemistry. You haven't had any rockets shot up in the air for 7 months. You haven't had any research. They just blew up their test site. They're blowing up their engine test site for ballistic missiles. He's giving us back our great heroes who died, as you know. We're getting the remains back, and I've had so many people, so many parents, so many fathers and daughters and sons asking me, please, please. This is during the campaign and after. I say, I don't have exactly a good relationship. Anyway, during the meeting, and we really did hit it off during the, good chemistry.
You have since used some very friendly words regarding him, and you've taken some heat for that.
That's what it is. I take heat, but what am I supposed to do? Walk out and say terrible? I mean, I got along with him very well. We have good chemistry. I asked him, the remains, I'd like to get them. He said, yes, we will do that. They are already starting to produce the remains of these great young soldiers who were left
Right.
in North Korea. We're getting the remains, and nobody thought that was possible.
The way you have described things, it sounds like you feel that he's on the road to denuking.
Oh, absolutely.
So
it's in the agreement. It says he will denuclearize.
Right. I
You know,
know,
it's
but
funny when
that's
you see
kind of broad.
when it's funny when you see the fake news because, and you guys aren't fake, but I signed an agreement where we get everything. But they say Trump lost because he agreed to meet. Trump agreed
Got the
to
picture.
meet. No, it's a funny thing. You got to watch your CNN. I mean, what a fraud it is. They go.
They're listening.
Trump's
They're right behind you right now.
That's fine. Trump, do you hear me? Trump agreed to meet. I say, I agreed to meet. Of course you got to agree to meet. If you don't agree to meet, you know what you're going to have? You're going to have nuclear war. That's what you're going to have. I have a great relationship. He gave us back our hostages. I didn't pay $1.8 billion. Paid nothing. But it was very smart that he did it. He gave us back our hostages. He's giving us back the remains of probably 7,500 soldiers. Yeah, there's a tremendous number of soldiers, a tremendous number of MIAs, and just folks that they've never been found.
It sounds
and they, by the way, they know where many of these bodies are.
What is the stage of the meetings now? I know you've
It's
sent
great. Mike Pompeo's just leaving there. He was in South Korea.
Any developments?
We're getting along great with South Korea. We're getting along great with China, probably until this morning because we just did a big tariff on China. But that's okay because I have a wonderful relationship with President Xi. We'll all work it out. He understands it's unfair.
Right.
They can't believe they got away with it for so long, Steve.
Right.
Okay? They can't believe it. I mean, they got away with it for 25 years. I'm not just blaming Obama. I'm blaming many presidents and leaders.
At what point
It should have never happened.
At what point do the sanctions come off of North Korea?
When we can be sure there will be no more nuclear.
How close are we to that?
Very close. We're very close to getting it started. He wants to do it. He wants to do something great with his country. He wants to make his country great.
So you are saying that you'll relieve the sanctions once whatever he's going to do,
we know,
he's completely. Yeah. That stuff doesn't work anymore.
Once we know that it can't happen,
right.
And I'm telling you right now, with the relationship I have, it's not going to happen. Hey, you haven't had a rocket test in 7 months. I was with Prime Minister Abe, another good friend of mine from Japan. I said, when's the last time you had a rocket flying over Japan? He said, it has not happened. I said, it won't happen. Don't worry about it.
Are we close to seeing Mr. Kim here at the White House?
Could happen. I mean,
they talked about that yesterday.
I would have him.
Pompeo?
Yeah, I think it's something that could happen. Yeah. Hey, he's the head of a country, and I mean, he is the strong head. Don't let anyone think anything different.
Right.
He speaks, and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
Well, just before you met with him, he cleaned house. 3 of his top generals, some of the hardliners, he fired. Then you go over there, and you took some heat over saluting one of the generals.
I think he fired at least. Okay, when you say he
3
fired,
that we know of.
I think maybe fired at least. Fired may be a nice word. That's right. I met a general. He saluted me. I saluted him back, and I guess they're using that as another soundbite. I mean, I think I'm being respectful to the general. We have a very good relationship with North Korea. When I was talking to President Obama, he essentially was ready to go to war with North Korea. He felt you had to almost go to war. And I did ask him, have you spoken to him? He goes, no. I said, do you think it would be a good thing to speak to him, maybe?
Right.
Okay? Because, if you go to war there, you're not talking about 100,000 lives, which is a lot.
Right.
You're talking about 30, 40, 50 million lives.
Sure.
Seoul is 30 miles off the border. They don't even need nuclear weapons to take out Seoul. And they have thousands of cannons. They call them cannons. They have the big guns. Thousands pointed right at Seoul. We have a really great relationship for the first time ever. No president's ever had this. So I get hit by these fakes back here. Not all of them, some are phenomenal, but I get hit because I went there. I gave him credibility. I think it's great to give him credibility. Here's what we got. Everything. Point after point after point.
One point, I think it was in the last week, 10 days. Things are going fast here in Washington, just saying. But
you're having a lot of fun, right?
We're having.
So supposing Hillary got elected instead of Trump, do you think it would be so exciting? Your ratings would be way down. #1 show in the morning, folks.
Well, thank you. I've heard you say the others in cable news. That's right. It was within the last week.
Actually, also beyond cable news, you're doing pretty well.
We're doing okay.
That's okay.
Thanks for dropping by.
I like ratings.
All the other
I
channels
study
are probably
ratings.
Broadcasting. You had mentioned the NFL players and some taking a knee, and you would like to hear some of the stories of people who you should pardon. And you mentioned professional athletes. Have you heard from any of them?
No, I haven't heard. You know, they were all saying, oh, it has nothing to do with the flag. It's the way we've been treated. In the meantime, they're making $15 million a year. Look, I'm all for the athletes. I think it's great. I love athletics. I love sports, but they shouldn't get the politics involved. When you're in a stadium and they broadcast that national, you got to stand and you got to be proud and you got to have your hand up and you got to do everything that's right, and then go out and play really tough football. And once you leave that stadium, go and do whatever you want to do. Run for office, do whatever. But I did say, you know, I have this tremendous power of pardon. And Kim Kardashian came in, and the woman 22 years in jail.
People can't believe that you would be listening to Kim Kardashian.
Oh, I did. I don't know her, and I met her, and she was really nice, I have to say, and very capable. But she came in, and she said, this is a very unfair situation. I looked at it. I agree. She's in there for 22 years. She's got another 20 years to serve. And you have drug dealers that are doing big stuff, and they get a 2-month sentence. Okay, it was just unfair. And I thought it was a beautiful scene when that woman left prison and ran over to, it looked like her grandkids. It was a couple of big, strong guys, some wonderful women. They're all hugging, kissing, everyone's crying. To me, that was a beautiful scene. Well, she thanked me, but you know, thank Kim, because I wouldn't have known about it. And I told the NFL players, I mean, indirectly, I said, you have somebody that's aggrieved, because they're saying people are aggrieved. Okay, let me know about it. I'll look at it. If they're aggrieved, I will pardon them. I'll get them out.
I'm shocked you haven't heard from
I don't think I've heard from one. Now, maybe they've called the staff, but I have not personally heard from one.
Speaking of the staff...
Because I don't know if it's a real issue. I don't think it's a real issue.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders, your press secretary, she took a lot of heat yesterday from the people behind you.
Like she did? I didn't know that.
Well, she did. There was some suggestion that maybe she'd be leaving the White House.
I don't think so. You know, and look, at a certain point, everyone sort of leaves. You have to leave. I'm sort of just staying up like a ship, just keep going, being. But Sarah loves this job, and she's announced, not with me, I read that same report. Somebody put it out. I think it was CBS when she said it's a false report, but it's fake news. But at some point, I'm sure she'll leave, like everybody leaves, and we'll get somebody else. But Sarah's done a fantastic job. No, I don't think she's leaving.
What do you make of the...
In fact, she was very insulted that they came out and said that, so I don't think she's leaving.
What do you make of the back and forth between her and the press? Because sometimes it gets
well, I think the press.
Loud.
I think the press treats Sarah very unfairly. That White House correspondent.
But I think some of them feel she's not answering their questions, so they're going to ask it again and ask.
Well, I gave a press conference in Singapore. That was like an hour and a half, and that was like the biggest press group I've ever seen. And I answered every single question. I'd answer anybody's question. I guess that's not supposed to be my job. I'm here with you today. You're giving me a lot of
thank you very much.
A lot of interesting questions. But Steve, I think Sarah is really a good person and a nice person, very capable. She's got a lot of the father's genes because that father is great.
Mike Huckabee.
Don't forget, he got up there in that debate stage and he said nobody's going to beat Trump. And I even decided to wear, he was running, and I even decided to wear a Trump tie. And I said, I love that guy. I loved him, okay? Yeah. Mike is a very talented guy, and Sarah's a very talented person. But they treat her very badly. What they did to Sarah at the White House Correspondents' Center, now the only difference I would have done, I would have walked out. I thought she should have walked out instead of sitting there. But
she took the high road.
She took a very high road. Sometimes you don't take such a high road.
We had Stuart Varney on our air earlier.
By the way, he is great. I love Stuart.
That little part, he's going to be running every day now.
And he's right. He knows what he's talking about.
Well, he suggested that the next quarter GDP could be 4%.
Well, they're predicting, you know, the Atlanta Fed predicted 4.8%. I think, you know, it's a lot. Don't forget, when I got elected, I took this thing over. It was 1.2. And each point is $3 trillion and 10 million jobs. You know, a point, people will sit home, oh, it's a point, what difference does it make? Well, it was 1.2. And it was going down. You probably saw this morning I put out, they would have raised your taxes instead of cut your taxes, and they were going to put on more regulations. The last thing we need is regulations. I actually think my regulation cutting had more of an impact on the economy than the tax cuts.
When you were running, you said for every regulation we enact, I will cut 2.
Right.
But you didn't cut 2.
That's right.
You're cutting a much bigger number.
22, it turned out. 22. And by the way, you need regulation. I want the cleanest water in the world. I want the cleanest air in the world. I want that air to be so perfect. And our air now is better than it was 2 years ago with all of the talk and all of the nonsense. clean, crystal clean water, clean air, but I also want our companies to be competitive so they can go around the world and compete. And we were shutting down companies over the environment, and they weren't doing anything wrong. And that's jobs.
Right, but there are some who say, look, the EPA is relaxing a lot of rules that are out there to protect people.
Only rules that don't mean anything, or rules that are duplicative. You know, rules
There's
where
a
you
lot
have,
of those.
well, not only that, I mean, some of them you have 9 different times you have to get the same thing approved by different agencies.
Right.
To build a highway in this country takes 19 years of approvals. I have it down to 2 years. And you'll get rejected if it's wrong, if it's environmentally bad.
Right.
But I have it down to 2 years. I want to get it down to 1 year. And that's indicative of everything else, too. A company comes in from China, from Japan. They want to spend a tremendous amount of money on building a plant or something, right? It takes them 7 years to get a permit. And they don't do it because it's too long.
Right.
I have it down to 1 year and even faster.
Right.
Now, if they're wrong, we know immediately. You know, you don't have to wait 7 years. How about going through the process 7 years and getting rejected? How about a highway that spends 19 years getting approved, and then in the last vote, they get a 3-2 vote no? That happens oftentimes, and they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the approval. Not going to happen anymore.
I saw a headline on Drudge, I think this morning, unemployment at a 44-year low.
Yeah. Drudge is great, by the way. Matt Drudge is a great gentleman. Who really, I don't know, he's got an ability to capture the stories that people want to see, but that was the #1 story on Drudge. 44-year low unemployment, and I saw that in very big letters, actually, and I said, that makes me very proud.
Another story out there was this past week is while you did meet with Kim Jong-un, it sounds like you and Mr. Putin may be sitting down sometime soon. What can you tell us about that?
We may, and it started because a reporter shouted to me, should Putin be in the G7? I said, no, he should be in the G8. It used to be the G8 a few years ago. And I think President Obama didn't like him, even though they gave advance notice about the election to Obama. People forget about that. You know, Obama was told by the CIA or somebody, FBI, about Russia. He didn't do anything about it. How come he never gets blamed? Yeah. In September, just before the election, my election, he should have done, because maybe I would have won by more.
Right. Yesterday, a big day. Not only did the AG report come out, but it was your birthday.
That's right.
Get any good presents?
I got a lot of good kisses. I had a lot of phone calls from people that I would never have gotten phone calls from. I got phone calls
Where'd you get the kisses from?
From a beautiful wife.
Okay.
Who's really doing great. She's doing great. But, and my kids.
Speaking of your wife.
Yeah.
You know, we saw a story, I think as you were heading to the chopper, you said, you know, she can't fly for a month.
1 month. Well, the doctor said don't fly for a month, but she'll be able to very shortly.
And she's on the mend.
Oh, she's in great shape. She's, like, perfect. She and somebody said, did she have a facelift? No. Did she have this? Did she have that? I mean, the speculation. Even after the doctors gave a full, and these are White House doctors, they give, you know, they give the really straight stuff. But no, she's doing fantastically well.
We had your son, Don Jr., on our show, and he said he was not getting you anything for your birthday because you've got everything.
Well, I just want to have a successful country. I'll be honest. This is so intensive. We've done more. I don't say this in a bragging way. Actually, some of the haters actually say this. We've done more in 500 days, so now it's 510 days, than any 500-day president, first term, by far. Yeah. And that's what I want to do. I want to really, you know, I got elected, Make America Great Again. Very simple. Make America Great Again. That's what we're doing. And we are respected around the world. You take a look at Iran. They're not talking about Iran taking over the Middle East. I took that crazy deal that Obama gave them away. Iran's not looking to the Mediterranean anymore. You know, they had to go through a lot of territory to get there. Right. They're looking to survive. But I will tell you, someday soon, they're going to come back and they're going to want to negotiate a deal, and we'll make a deal. But they were nasty. They were very, very nasty, and they had to be stopped. I took away the deal, and I think they've been treating America with much more respect. And I have to say that you don't see the little boats circling our boats anymore. Do you notice that? Yeah. Remember with Obama? You'd have this beautiful destroyer. You'd have this Annapolis captain on the boat. And he's sitting there. You could see he's like a boiler waiting to explode because he was giving orders. And they were circling us with those boats, right? And he wanted to shoot the hell out of them. He wanted to. They were harassing our guys. And he wanted to shoot the hell out of them. Yeah. And you don't see that stuff anymore. By the way, when they captured our 10 sailors and made them get on the knees, you're not going to see that anymore.
I hear the bells in the distance. We're coming up on 9 o'clock in the east. How are you going to celebrate Father's Day?
Work. I'm going to work. I'm going to actually be calling North Korea. I'm going to be calling. I just
What are you
have
gonna
right
say to
now.
North-
I have a call from your friend from France, Emmanuel.
What are you going to tell him?
I'm going to tell him you have to treat us better on trade. European Union's not treating us well on trade. I love trade. You know, trade's always been my thing. Even 20 years ago, when I'd be talking to you, trade was always my thing. It's probably. I'm getting a lot of credit for what we're doing foreign, but I think my best thing is going to be trade. We have to straighten out our trade. You know, we're doing well despite our bad trade deals. After we do our trade deals, when you see the numbers.
Mr. President, I don't think in the history... Anybody ever know the sitting president come out on the North Lawn? Never. It's never happened.
Yeah. Secret Service is thrilled.
I bet.
As I stand here.
On the way...
Look at these guys. They're ready to...
I feel very secure. You know what?
This is definitely your son. By the way,
it's fine.
I looked at him. Hey, I look at him. There's no question that's your son.
That's very kind of you. All right, Mr. President, thank you very much.